Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Trust the Effing Podcast. My name is Rebecca Schmidt, and I am solo today. My co host, Jennifer Fleischman, unfortunately is under the weather and has, in fact, lost her voice. So you're stuck with me. And I thought today, since I am solo, that I would offer you a little bit of what I offer my clients within my business, and that is an intuitive reading. Are you guys interested in that? I know this is more for the collective, so it's a bit of a general reading, but there will be messages for you that will come through. So please stay tuned to the end. One thing I like to tell my clients when I'm starting a reading is to really trust what comes through on your side as you're listening to my voice, the words that I'm saying. If something strong comes up, like, oh, that reminds me of something I said the other day, or that reminds me of my work, that's what it's about. My intention is that you will receive some sort of message or guidance or clarity. And I also always put out the intention of being able to offer the bigger picture, a higher perspective to my client, and sometimes even to offer some resources. I really allow whatever comes through during a session, I share it. At the beginning, when I was first doing this, sometimes I'd get a little nervous. I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to say that. That seems crazy. But the more I've been doing these and all the years that I've now been offering these, it always makes sense to the person listening. And if it doesn't make sense now, then perhaps it will in the future, or you'll think of something later on and be like, oh my gosh, that's what she was talking about. And also, if there's like sounds or something that's going on around you while you're listening to me, and also on my side, if there's some crazy sounds in my background that go on or something, really trust in the timing of those as well. It's always interesting what occurs during the intuitive sessions and the readings that I offer. So I will today be using some tarot cards. I have two different decks here. Actually, interestingly enough, they're both by the Wild Unknown. So, without further ado, my friends, let's get going. Let's dive in. And again, take what resonates for you, leave the rest. And I'm holding on to this beautiful crystal that I bought recently when I was in Canada. And it is a piece of, well, some people might call it yellow calcite, while others would call it orange calcite. And it's in the shape of a heart. And this one's actually been polished and it just feels powerful. The yellow or orange makes me right away think of this feeling of authenticity that's coming through and empowerment. And I do think that we're at a time period in our lives that we are all really standing up for ourselves in some way and breaking out of old patterns, limited belief systems where we've been holding ourselves back, maybe blaming others, maybe playing the victim. Maybe there has been some serious difficulties in your life and you had to learn some big lessons. Maybe it's time to up level. Maybe it's time to mature. Maybe it's been time to get more responsible. Maybe you're like me and you had to dive deeper into the subconscious mind, into your shadows and see what was blocking you. Or maybe it's time for you to do that now or in the near future. But there's this sense of really being courageous. And I think the courage has to do with vulnerability, especially with this being in the shape of a heart. I think we're going to see the whole world and maybe famous people or celebrities or influencers. There's going to definitely be a change. And maybe we're already starting to see that where people are going to demand more authenticity. No one else wants this fakeness anymore, for the lack of softer words. People want reality and they want help and they want to know how to grow and they want to know how to heal and they want to know how they can live their best lives. Do you want to live your best life? Right? I do. That's what I'm here for. And that's part of why I continued on my journey, learning more about myself and healing parts of myself that were lost. I think I'd pushed some parts away that I felt I wasn't safe to share with the world. Have you done that? Now I feel, especially with this podcast and with my business and with my clients and even with my friends and family, I'm getting braver. I think the more comfortable I get with who I now am or realizing who I truly am versus how I was living for many years and in more of the ego, listening to what other people's opinions of me were or what I thought I should be or characters I kind of created. And I don't want to do that anymore. I know through the trials and tribulations, if that's what we're going to call them, difficult circumstances, perhaps, experiences, lessons that Pluto has taught me over the last 16 years while he's been in Capricorn have definitely brought me back to myself and allowed me to stand up for myself and towards authority figures and to decipher my own opinions and trust in my own opinions. Are you feeling any of these? Has this been happening for you too? So, you guys, to dive in, I'm not going to go too far into astrology today, but we have had Pluto recently moving into Aquarius. So, on November 19th, which was yesterday, if you're listening to this on the day that the podcast airs, Pluto will finally be leaving Capricorn for the rest of our lifetimes and is moving back into Aquarius. He was there earlier this year, just a few months, and now he is back there for 20 years. So it's a very different energy. Capricorn is an earth sign. It was a very down to earth, dealing with earthly matters and systems and structures and power and control issues. Maybe you, with, like I was saying, my own authority versus other authority figures, and even my own systems inside of me, right? Pluto always brings destruction. So that's like part of the death process. But he also then allows a rebirth. And so for me, I feel like I've been able to let go of all these old storylines I was running, the trauma, the victim, even all these personas and coping mechanisms that I had created, systems, structures, and beliefs that I was running on in order to, I don't know, the words are, guys, to move forward in this world, to be a success, to find my purpose, even just to get through every day. And so I'm looking forward to Pluto moving into Aquarius because Aquarius is an air sign. More to do with technology and humanitarian efforts, like the collective versus just ourselves. We're still going to see some shifts happening. It takes time as that all winds down and the new energy moves in. But you're feeling it. I know you've all gone through some major transformation in your lives. And now we're seeing more authenticity. And that's with this crystal. That's what I pick up. You're ready to shine your light. More people are ready to speak honestly. We're not hiding as much stuff as we used to. I think we've realized that hiding it as much as we thought maybe we were protecting ourselves so others wouldn't judge us. But that kind of made us judge ourselves too. And there's no space for that anymore. There's no more space for putting ourselves down. We have to love ourselves. And if you're not able to do that at this time, then that's where the work needs to start. You need to start by finding ways to love yourself. And that can just be tiny little daily habits and routine and choices that you make that allow you to make better decisions for yourself and put yourself first. That's the biggest thing, right? Don't worry about disappointing others. Just don't disappoint yourself anymore. Okay, so that all came through from that beautiful little crystal. I like where this reading's going. Now, this sound bowl, I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but it is my cat's sitting near me as I record this, and he was like, "What the hell?" Shaking his head as I hit the sound bowl. So this is a Tibetan sound bowl. And actually, this one has a lot to do with the yin and the yang, so the masculine and the feminine, and in the balancing of those. So I love that energy wanted to join us today. Each one of us has both a masculine and feminine sides to us, energies. And for many of us, especially as Pluto's gone through Capricorn, we've become aware that they've been out of balance. And especially with the patriarchy in the world, that there has been a more of a masculine dominant kind of energy of who's in control or power. And we've been seeing over the last number of years that beginning to balance out. The underdogs are rising. Maybe you're not seeing it yet, but I really do believe it's happening. The feminine is definitely rising. And within each of us, you may be starting to realize that when we're unbalanced or imbalanced and we're living more in our masculine, then we're not allowing as much ease as the feminine can bring us. The masculine is that go after it, force it, hunting, making it happen. Where the feminine has some beautiful characteristics of patience and using your intuition, which we each have our own inner navigation systems. And if we can come back to ourselves and reconnect more with ourselves and find stillness once in a while and stop running away from ourselves, maybe you have to heal some stuff. Maybe you have to rewire some stuff. It's all possible. Like if you feel uncomfortable being alone, then there's a reason why. And it's time to face whatever that is. You're not a bad person. We've all made mistakes. And also, we all are running on beliefs that might be false. They might have been a perspective that you created as maybe a child or before you knew what you now know. And so imagine those got stuck and you're still running on those. So something happened that one of your parents did when you were a kid and you thought, oh, that must mean I'm not lovable. Well, the truth is that does not mean you're not lovable at all. That's just something you thought of as maybe an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, and that stayed stuck in you. Imagine it's a record player and that record keeps playing the same thing of I'm not really lovable. I'm not really lovable. And then you attract people and situations who treat you like you're not lovable and cause you to believe that even more, right? So it's time to flip the script. It's time for some of you to dive very deep and to start to realize some of these core beliefs that you're running on that are no longer true. I did a lot of work in therapy, especially with EMDR and with breath work was very helpful for me. Being able to see what was going on deep inside of me and these patterns and beliefs that I was running on about myself. And I was able to then look at some of those situations from an adult perspective and say, oh, that's not even true. I'm so sad that I ever thought that about myself. And what would I prefer to think about myself? And then we rewired that into myself. So now I'm running on these healthier patterns and maybe, as some would say, as more of a whole. I'm more connected. There was parts of me that I was very disconnected from. And now I've reconnected with those. And I feel like the reason I'm sharing this today is because that's a message for all of you. If you feel like you've disconnected from parts of you, maybe it's your sweet inner child, that playful side of you. Maybe it was like me, the girl that believed in magic and felt things really, really deeply. Well, now I'm using those to help others, right? And to realize that they're actually gifts and that I don't need to be embarrassed that I'm sensitive. And I learned a lot of tools on how to deal with those sensitivities and to actually allow myself to use them as gifts. So there's a balancing of the masculine and the feminine going on. And I highly recommend if you do feel like you need to do any work, and I put that in quotations because I'm not talking about things you might be getting paid for, although maybe some of you are getting paid while you're doing the work, but it's the work on yourself so that you can be a better human, so that you can be more whole, so that you can heal any traumas or false beliefs that you're running on and you can love yourself again. Because once you love yourself again, you're going to attract more people that also love you and treat you well. And that whole vibration will go out and shine on throughout the world. And that's actually one of the ways that everyone can help. A lot of people are like, oh my God, the world is in dire straits. And yep, it sure is. Going for the destruction. But guess what? It's also going to go through a rebirth at some point, right? And step into this new version. And you're a part of that because we are all connected. So the sooner you can help yourself and take the time, this will be the most productive thing you can do. So if you're one of those people like I was growing up in a society where we feel like we have to be productive every day, then be productive by helping yourself and healing yourself. trying new things. Put yourself out there. I feel like that's what's coming in here. Okay, guys, I dropped a card on the ground. I'm going to lean down and pick it up. Okay. This is my new animal spirit deck by Kim Kranz of the Wild Unknown. And this is the vulture card that came up. We got the vulture, my friend. The vulture, I don't know the meanings for all of these animals, but animal messages, they can come to you in real life. Like maybe you actually see a certain animal or butterfly or something repeatedly a few times, maybe even seeing it online or on TV or someone's talking about it. If you notice that, hey, they talked about that yesterday. And oh my God, I saw one of those the other day. You can actually Google that. Or there's also some really awesome books out there people have written that share kind of the messages, what each animal's offering. So today we have the vulture, which I think goes along with the death thing that I'm talking about with Pluto, right? So let's see what it says here. Okay, the keywords are guardian and purifier, essential for rebalance. So the death is needed before the rebirth, right? The destruction is in fact necessary. The necessary part of, here I go again with the air quotes with my fingers, the necessary part of the process. And if you feel like all is lost, that's good. Let it go. You're in the exact right spot. Even though it feels painful and terrible, there are things that we each, on a personal level, need to release and walk away from and let go. And if that's people in your life or habits or beliefs, whatever it is, there's something that we are letting go of. So here you go, guys. The vulture is perhaps the most misunderstood creature of all. Wow. This intriguing bird balances our ecosystem and prevents the spread of disease. It does the dirty work that no one else wants to do and cleans up our messes. Wow. The vulture appears when there's a situation that needs to be purified or brought back into balance. Remember, the vulture is greatly undervalued. What you thought was a mistake or tragedy is a blessing in disguise. You guys, that's wild. Okay, so there's a little bit more information here. When in balance, the vulture clarifies, reveals wisdom. When it's out of balance, you can be dramatic or aggressive. And to bring this energy into balance, it says to clean your space or sage. Do you know what stuck out the most to me? And maybe it stuck out to you as well. And that's what I always do when I'm reading messages is the part that sticks out, the part that resonates. Same with this whole reading that I'm offering right now. Take that. That's the part, that's the message for you, right? So the part that stuck out here was not only is the vulture the one that's doing the dirty work and is the one who's going to clean up, but it appears when there's a situation that needs to be purified and brought back into balance. So, what situation in your life needs to be purified and brought back into balance? Something has gotten way out of whack and you know it. I know you know it. Are you laughing? Are you crying? What's going on out there? Because I know you know it. And how interesting that we had the sound bowl here, which is the balancing of the masculine and the feminine. And we have, again, this beautiful heart that's yellow or orange citrine. Perhaps even those chakras are out of balance. So, if you know anything about the chakra system, there's said to be energy wheels within us. And the orange and yellow ones would be your sacral chakra and your solar plexus. So your sacral chakra is located right below your belly button in that area, in the womb area of a woman. And it's to do with our creativity. Of course, it has to do with that zest for life and our passion as well. You know, that's where life kind of begins, especially in the womb. Those areas known as the sacral chakra, when they're stuck, oof, they can cause us a lot of problems by keeping us stuck where you don't feel passion. Maybe you feel depressed. Maybe there's no zest for life. Maybe you have no sex drive even. That would be that area as well. Maybe lack of creativity. Now, if we're talking about the solar plexus, that is the third chakra and it's located just above your belly button. And it's said to be the power center. And it's a beautiful yellow or golden light. And when it is balanced and spinning in the right direction, then you are standing in your power. You are able to be your authentic self. You're very courageous. You put yourself out there. You shine your light. But when it's not in balance, it's going to be the opposite of those things, right? So where are you shying away and dimming your light and not living up to what you deserve? But also, where are you hiding? There's a lot of fear that's keeping you from shining that light and from being your true self. And what the world needs now, as we all know, is not just love, sweet love. Did you get that? It's also actually you being your authentic self, you being your vulnerable self. So don't be afraid to shine your light because it really is what the world needs most right now. And I can't remember her name. So maybe you guys can put it in the comments later, but there's a woman I used to follow I think on Instagram. It's bothering me. I feel like she's in New York City. Anyway, she always says something along the lines of what the world needs is that one unique thing that you've got. And it's true. Each of us has something special that we are here to offer. So don't be afraid of your weirdness. That's what you're here to give. So people think, or people say, oh, you're too loud sometimes, or oh, you're too much. No, those are not your people. They're the wrong people. Shine, be you. If you're doing it in an authentic way, then there are people that are going to love. Okay, so I'm just going to pull one more card here, because I didn't even get to pull any of these other cards, but these messages are big. And I hope that they're making sense for you. So let's see. This is from the tarot deck, The Wild Unknown. And the first card I'm pulling out here is the Four of Cups. So cups have to do with the element of water, and they have to do with our relationships and your emotions. And here I feel like there's a sense of resting a little bit, like just taking it a little bit easy. It's interesting because there's a mouse on this card, vulture, mice, like these are night creatures. So I do feel like there is something that's being maybe offered to you that you're not seeing. And it might even, again, like what the vulture card said, it feels like a blessing in disguise. So there might be something that even an experience that's pushing you up against the wall and it feels terrible. But in fact, it's once you kind of can break through this or understand this or whatever it is that needs to give, because something's got to give here. I think you're going to realize that there is, in fact, a beautiful blessing. And it might be something that's illuminated to you about yourself. I feel like you've been really paying attention maybe to a lot of things that haven't been going right. And you're not realizing there is something really special coming in around this time. And I guess that's kind of has to do with that death and rebirth process, right? When we're going through the death experience, it just feels like it's death. It's like a lot of change and it might be painful if you're not letting go easily. So if things want to leave your life or people want to leave your life right now, let them go because there's going to be something else more wonderful that's going to take their place. So wherever you've been feeling stuck or limiting yourself, that's got to hit the road. All right, look at this. We got the Four of Pentacles now, and this has to do with where we keep ourselves stuck. It's like that record player I was talking about. Imagine if you remember what a record player is. There was a needle that goes in these little grooves, and that's where the song plays. But sometimes it would get stuck in those record grooves. And sometimes you have to physically pick up the needle and move it to a new groove. And so there's some of you that like, where are you keeping yourself stuck? Maybe it's to do with money fears. Maybe it's to do with, there's some kind of folding pattern. So I'm going to leave you with that. Where are you still holding? Where could you let go? Where are you not allowing the flow? And if you're like, I don't know what the hell she's talking about, it's going to be, it's a sense of where there's the most resistance. So wherever you feel things are the hardest, that's where the change needs to be. I feel like I just gave myself a really big message right there. Did you guys get that? Okay, one more card. Daughter of Swords. This is the Page of Swords in the traditional tarot. I do feel like there's going to be an aha moment or something you're exploring. Perhaps you're receiving some news. a message from someone else, a new perspective, something happening that is going to, I think, create sudden change. You just seeing something different. Sometimes, like, all of a sudden you hear something and then you're like, oh, that it can never be the same again. Or now I have to go in this direction because of that. That's what's happening here. So I think where you have been holding yourself back, and there's an owl on this card, by the way. I feel like there's some wisdom that then allows you to better see how you've been holding yourself back and to see where this blessing really is, this blessing in disguise. It's there. It's been there the whole time, but perhaps you're seeing everything as the destruction and not realizing that destruction is going to create exactly what it is you've been wanting. So out of that destruction is going to come a new you, and perhaps that new you is finally going to be able to rise up to or raise your vibration to match the vibration or frequency of your desires. And I love that for you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I know this is a little different than our normal podcast, but I do hope that the messages resonated with you.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you feel called to, please leave us a comment or review on the platform you heard us on today, or send us an email at trusttheeffingpodcast@gmail.com. If you are looking for additional support in your awakening journey or an intuitive reading from Rebecca, you can find her on social media at Trust the Effing Process. If you are a woman looking for holistic health and weight loss support and would like a consultation with me, you can find me on social media at JenniferFleischman_health coach or email me, jennifer@jenniferfleischman.com. And of course, all of this information will be linked in the show notes so you can check those out. Always know that you are exactly where you should be at any given moment in your life, and everything is unfolding as it should be. So please remember to trust the effing podcast.